Welcome. Sorry. All right. Welcome. Hi. In this video, I'm going to share with you why wreaths are one of the best handmade items that you can sell on Etsy. And if you're wondering who I am, if you're new here, I'm Jenny with Jenny's Wreath Boutique. I've been selling wreaths on Etsy for almost 10 years now. It'll be 10 years in January, which is crazy. And I started not knowing anything, and then I grew over time, and now my Etsy shop makes over six figures. Well, it makes six figures in revenue every year from just selling my wreaths. So I want to encourage you, if you are wanting to sell wreaths and you're not sure if it's going to be a profitable market for you or if it's oversaturated, there's definitely room for you. And so we're going to talk about in this video. So if you're here, say hi and let me know that you can hear me and everything. So yeah. If you're watching on my channel, you're probably a wreath maker, whether that's as a hobbyist or you're wanting to learn how to sell them as well, make a side income just to support your hobby, or maybe you're wanting to quit your full-time job and replace that income with making wreaths on Etsy, or maybe you just want to supplement it, or you're in retirement and you want to have a little side income and something to do during retirement. I've got people inside my VIP group of all of those walks of life. So it's always fun to see where you guys are at. So let me know in the comments if you are a hobbyist, or if you're wanting to sell them, or if you already sell them and you're just wanting to learn how to do more. All right, before I go any further, I wanted to let you know that right now, while I'm live, my Wreath VIP group is open, where I teach you how to make and sell wreaths. I teach you how to make wreaths like a pro. So you don't have to be a wreath seller to be in the group. I actually designed it for people who wanted to learn how to make wreaths that were high-end looking, not wasting things, good design, how to do what's on trend. But I also teach how to sell on Etsy if you want to do that. But you don't have to be a seller to be in the group. But I do have that linked in the description and the comments if you're interested. So, oh, Iris, you're so sweet. Iris says, y'all need to join her group. You will love it. Well, thank you, Iris. I appreciate you. All right. Hey, Karina and Iris and Simply Blessed Designs are here, and a bunch of others. So if you're watching, say hi and give this video a like, share it with a friend. Hey, Verlene, welcome. All right, so why wreaths? Because there's a lot of things that sell, but why wreaths in particular? There's a lot of YouTube videos out there actually that teach before you start selling on Etsy, what should you sell? You know, you got to figure out what your niche is, or other people call it niche. I'm still a niche person. I can't help it. The riches are in the niches. So we can skip that. I'm just going to tell you, wreaths are great. But yeah, there's a lot of people who focus on what should you sell, what's profitable. There's so many handmade items that are beautiful and wonderful, but you can't sell them for a higher profit, or it's harder to sell, or they're not as in demand. But let's go over why wreaths are so great. Oh, don't worry, Ashley. Wreaths are great because, first of all, they sell year round. They are not just for Christmas or fall. I've been to the South, but not really, just like Florida for Disney World. So I know, and I've heard that everyone has a wreath on the door for all seasons there. But over here on the west side of the country, it's been for Christmas, but now I'm seeing a lot of people have them year round. And so it's more common for people to have a wreath year round. And it's not just for front doors. They're inside the house. They're in lots of ways, over the mantle, just you name it. Wreaths are very popular, and not just seasonally, but for every season. I guess that would be seasonally, but all year round, they're popular. So they're great for year-round decor and great for seasonal, and which is great for repeat buyers because people want to refresh their door every season. So that's great. Oh, she says, heck yes, all day, every day, along with a porch leaner. What is a porch leaner? Is that like a sign that leans against your porch? What is a porch leaner? Did you say your name was, it's Ashley? Wait. I need to know. Ashley, what is a porch leaner? Oh, and on the stove vents, absolutely. Yes. So they're in high demand. I don't know anybody. I'm sure there are people out there, but I don't know many people who don't have a wreath. So uh, it's in high demand. And with as styles and trends change, people will still want to be buying your designs. So, and they have an emotional connection. They symbolize welcome and celebration in family gatherings. And they're also often purchased as a housewarming gift. I love it when I get an order in my Etsy shop that says it's a gift and has a note. Congratulations on your new home. We love you. People send wreaths for that. It's great. So there's a huge market for wreaths, is what I'm saying. Also, I always recommend selling on Etsy, especially as a beginner. And there's already a huge built-in audience on Etsy that loves wreaths. They buy wreaths every time Etsy showcases home decor. By the way, I will mention this. Home decor is around 35% of Etsy's gross merchandise sales. That's a big chunk. And wreaths obviously are in home decor. And pretty much every time Etsy is promoting their seasonal things, they have their main page on Etsy and they have their home decor section. There's always a wreath shop or there's a wreath of some kind there. So wreaths are so popular. I just want to, and you guys know that you love wreaths. I just want you to know that lots of other people love wreaths too. And a lot of people go for Etsy to buy their wreaths if they want something unique and handmade, something extra special. All right. Jill says, joined your VIP group. Thank you for all the things you share with us. Absolutely. Welcome to the group, Jill. And Karina says, I wish I joined the group before overspending. Now I'm packing to move, and honestly, all I have are flowers. Oh no. Well, we're going to help you work through those by using what you have. So it's okay. It's okay. Now you know better. Okay. So wreaths are in high demand and they sell they sell well all year round. And so you don't have to convince people like why they want this. They already know they want it. And then when they see your picture of it styled well on a beautiful door, they want yours. They don't just want any wreath. Now they know, ooh, that's the one I want. And then it's nice because you can style them, make them unique. People can customize them to whatever colors they like. Maybe they want to have a wedding wreath as a backdrop for behind like their cake table or something. That would be great. But people can go to Etsy and find customizable things like that. And wreaths do very well in the customization option. So anyway, let me know. Do you have a wreath on your door for every season? I would love to know. I do. I didn't used to though when I was younger, but I do now. I mean, obviously. What kind of wreath maker would I be? Well, sometimes I don't have time to make my own wreath, but I usually have one on my own door. All right. So we know that wreaths are in high demand all year round, but obviously, especially for Christmas, even people who aren't wreath people will buy a Christmas wreath. So yes. So why are wreaths good for a profitable business? Because there's a lot of handmade items you could do, but why wreaths? Well, I like wreaths, first of all, because the materials are very accessible and you can start small. I've got stock your shop workshops. I actually teach that also inside my VIP group. I've got lots of trainings that are pretty much a stock your shop workshop where I teach you how to buy a small amount of supplies, which is exactly what I did when I started, and use them to make different kinds of wreaths, mixing and matching. I talk about it kind of like a capsule wardrobe. And so you can start small and within your budget. There's a wide range of quality. I like to find good quality for a low price. If you can find that, that's absolutely great. It's harder to do sometimes, but that makes a great staple. And so you can start really small, don't overbuy, and then grow it and expand as you go. So it's really accessible, easy to start. I talk about this in a much older video that I made, but I started with $70. And to be honest, most of that was like 70% off Christmas items I didn't even use until later. I think I only spent $20 on actual things for the current season, so it's actually less. That was a very small start. My wreaths were not great, but they sold, and then I used that money to reinvest. So easy startup costs. And when you use Etsy, it's not free to start anymore. I believe there's $29 cost, but it's way cheaper than your own website, way easier, just very easy to start. All right, so you can start small and the materials are easily accessible. Before I get to the next point, let me look at some comments. What do you feel about mesh? I don't like mesh. I mean, a certain person, I do feel like even that is starting to go out of style. I've never been a mesh person. I like the more natural looking designs that are a little bit higher end. And I also think the ones that I make, you can sell for a lot more. But I'm not a mesh person, but you do whatever your audience wants. Hi, Samantha. Yes, I am live. Verlene says, I change my wreaths and outdoor planter at least 3 times a year. I even have a wreath on my outdoor shed. Oh, I love that. Okay, good. I'm glad we're in the same boat there. Sorry, I've got a notification popped up. Okay, the next thing about wreaths, and this is where it really, really helps. Really, really helps. And this is one of the main reasons why I love wreaths is there are healthy profit margins. So it depends. Some of us are slower, some of us are faster. It's okay. I used to make fresh wreaths for my grandma. I've told the story a lot. And I was slow. Well, for her, I was slow. I think I made 3 an hour, but they were fresh. I used a wreath clamp and everything. And she's like, Jen, you got to go faster. But mine were nice. And she said mine always sold first. So there we go. I learned from my grandma, who's absolute pro florist. Amazing. But I did get faster and then I could make 5 an hour. So that was good. She paid me per wreath. So when I could make more an hour, obviously I made more money, but I had to keep the quality high. But I don't make fresh wreaths anymore. I make faux wreaths because you don't have to worry about your inventory dying on you, which is great. So the profit margins are great because, where was I going with that story? Oh, you can make them pretty quickly depending on the style. And when I'm teaching inside my VIP group, especially, I will share like, this is one that you can make really fast. It's a great addition if you're wanting to sell your wreaths, or if you're having people come over last minute and you want something pretty on your door, you can whip this up really quick. Kaylee says, what's a good place to source besides Hobby Lobby? Well, I have a free cheat sheet. It is linked in the description of all my YouTube videos where I share my favorite suppliers, both retail and wholesale. So you can grab that if you don't have it. I also have that list in more detail inside my VIP group in the resources section. So for me, the average wreath, the average size made on a 14-inch grapevine, takes me about 30 minutes. And I'm going to give you an example. I wrote it down because I can't calculate things very quickly live. So I wrote this down before. I wanted to give you a couple examples. So let's say you make a wreath that costs you $30 in materials, and I do have a pricing model that I teach. It's kind of a sliding scale, and I talk more about the nuances of that in a training inside my group. But let's say you want to triple your cost of supplies. So that would be $90. And then I recommend adding shipping into the cost of your wreath. So that'd be $110. And then you have your fees, but I'm just going to absorb some of those fees from the 3 times cost. So let's say it costs us $30 to make and $20 in shipping. That can vary greatly. I live in Idaho. I ship most things to the East Coast, so my shipping cost is a little higher, but that's okay. So let's say I listed at $110. And then I subtract my fees and my cost and the shipping. And then that would give me about $50 in profit for 30 minutes. And that's for a cheaper wreath for me. So that's $50 in a half hour. And that's higher end. You can start at a lower multiplication. So if you wanted to, if you're a beginner and you're not confident in your designs yet, or they're not quite to the level that you think they should be, you can charge twice your supply cost, and then you can work your way up as you make more sales. So that would be $50 for a half hour of work, which is great. And let's give another example that's more realistic to what I do. Let's say a wreath is $50 in supplies. Yikes, that sounds really scary. Who's going to buy that? Trust me, they will if it's good quality and you have great photos. So I'm going to multiply it just by a little bit over 2 just to make round numbers, and then add in my shipping costs. So for a wreath that cost me about $50, I charge usually about $147. That's with shipping included. Let's say it cost $25 or $20, probably 20 for that. Samantha, I am going to do the next one next. But that exact number. And then, so 147, and then minus shipping and my cost of $50, even with a lower multiplier, that's $57 in a half an hour, which is great. But I also offer larger sizes of that same wreath. So my supply cost doesn't cost twice as much. Stay with me here, I promise I have a point. So let's say my wreath is a larger one, costs $75. I would charge $247 for that. I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, there's a market, a high-end market that will pay that, especially in fall and Christmas. But after I subtract, let's say $25 for shipping, $30 for $30 for shipping. I'm telling you, I pay a lot. And then $25 for my fees is probably going to be less because I use a lot of share and save links, which I'll talk about in a minute. That leaves me with $192, and then subtracting my $75 that I paid for in supplies, that's $117 profit for one wreath. And then that one is larger. It'll take me maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So that would be $117 in 1 hour. Now, think of another item that you could hand make. Let's say you crochet. You can make cute little crochet things. It's going to be really hard to make $117 an hour. And of course, these numbers are going to vary greatly. You could make mini wreaths, you can make bows and things to add on to your wreaths. There's so many different things you could do. I just wanted to simplify it with these different examples. And then if you're thinking, wow, my cost is really high, you're making your profit not only when you're making your wreath and everything, but you're making your profit when you're buying your materials. So always shop for sales. And then eventually, now, just so you know, I didn't start buying wholesale until I was already making $100,000 or more in my Etsy shop. Going back, I would have been better off if I would have bought wholesale earlier. But I wanted to let you know that you can do this still from buying retail. You can do it. But when you start going into wholesale, which is good because by the time I was buying wholesale, I had a good amount of sales that could, use up the things I was buying. And then the higher quantities that you buy, depending on which place you're doing, most of them have tiered pricing. So the more you buy, the more of a discount you'll get, which is great. So that's one way later down the road, you can keep your prices the same and then increase your profit margins. So there's that. And then you can also it depends. Every wholesaler has garbage products and really high quality. So I try to find really good quality things that are selling and that are really nice for a good price. So there are things that are just beautiful and realistic, but for the price, it's just not worth it. So you have to discern those kinds of things. And I share all of that every time I have an item that I love. You guys know, if you're in the group, you know, I'm like, this is the best thing ever for the price. And anyway, I love sharing all of that information. But all of that to say, in general, wreaths have a very healthy profit margin. So you could make a full-time income selling wreaths. So yes, I sell in revenue, I make a good amount of money on Etsy. When I say my revenue, my gross revenue is really high. And then I take about half of that on average is my actual profit total. So in my shop, I have about 50% profit margins. That's after you take out my supplies costs, my shipping, my fees, and all of that. And then, speaking of fees, we definitely want to be, Etsy encourages you, this is a great addition they've done recently, is they want you to promote your own listings, which is great because they give you a link, a share and save link, and that saves you 4% on your fees. That means your Etsy fees, not payment processor fees, because you're going to have that whether you have your own website or not, which is about 3%. But your Etsy fees, which are normally 6.5%, if you get an order from your own links that you've shared, it's only 2.5%. That is so low. Etsy already has the lowest fees. I know people like to complain, but they have the lowest fees for any platform like this. So I'll take what I can get. But it's a great incentive to get people to your shop and sell things, but you also save 4% on your fees. So your fees are so low. It's amazing. Anyway, hey Kat, oh, welcome. And Sydney's here. Welcome, Sydney. I just stumbled onto this live. You appear to be feeling better today. Oh, yes. On a Monday during our live in the VIP group, we were doing wreath and Etsy shop critiques, and I was sneezing and I felt a cough coming. It was anyway. I am feeling better. Thank you, Sydney. Okay. So we've got low barrier to entry, getting supplies, healthy profit margins for wreaths. Wreaths are great for repeat buyers. Absolutely great because, like we mentioned earlier, seasonal, they do really great in every season and people like to update their items. And then Etsy, when you sell them on Etsy, you just have a built-in audience of people who appreciate handmade. Yes, there are rotten apples, but most Etsy customers are wonderful and they really appreciate the handmade touch, the handwritten notes, all of that stuff. But no, there's always going to be bad ones, and that scares people off a lot of times. But just don't waste your mental energy on those. Just focus on the good ones. So anyway, that is why I think wreaths are great for a profitable handmade business. And now let's talk about some practical tips for how you can be successful selling wreaths, because you could be like, Jenny, that's great and all, but how do I sell them? Well, this is like, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but as Etsy changes, there's Etsy updates, they're changing the weight of how different things matter, like their tags and titles and SEO. They're switching stuff up right now as we speak. And all of that is good. Etsy's looking at a more wholesome look at everything, is what they say. And the one thing that never changes is your photos are the most important thing in your Etsy shop. Your photos. You could have, and I say this all the time, I know, you could have the most beautiful wreath, but if you have terrible pictures, or not even terrible pictures anymore, if you don't have great pictures, they're not going to sell, or it's going to be a lot harder to sell because you're going to be, at least from Etsy, if you're doing your own traffic, it'll be easier. But if people are looking at your items in a page of search items, it's going to be hard for your wreath to stand out. You need a good, the mix of the price and the photo, like what you're offering, is going to make a big difference on how many people click on your item. So I always say this, two most important factors are eyeballs, that's the traffic, getting people to see your items, and then once they see them, do they look good enough to buy? So that is where your photos come in. So obviously, your design itself, you could have a terrible design and great photos, but man, that terrible design, if it has great photos, it might still sell. So photos are just so important, and not only photos, listing videos. Etsy has said that your listing videos will help the customer conversions. So always use listing videos. It's just an extra thing that helps. And it's really, really nice to have the video is just so much easier to show the size and the quality and just kind of that 3D look. Like I always kind of pan from one side to the other. It helps so much, I think. And I love when I'm purchasing things on Etsy, I love when there's a listing video. It helps so much. So do everything you can that once someone finds your listing, you do all this work to get people to see your listings. Don't waste it with bad photos. So, and then you also don't want to waste the bad photos with no one being able to see them. So it's a mix. So photos matter so much. You want to have photos that show the wreath, like a nice, undistracting main photo, light and bright, or kind of more moody and dark, especially as we get into fall. Those moody colors are just very popular. And then something that shows the size, like on a door or you holding it or something. I had an ugly front door for many, many years, and that did not stop me. So I think I have a pretty front door now, so it's a lot easier because I can take pictures on my door. But yeah, at the photos, you need to have the size, and you have up close details, different angles. Try to think of what questions a customer would potentially ask and answer those in your photos. So plain, different sides and angles, up close details, further back, and styled. That's what I would recommend. And then we get to your keywords. Yes, these are still important, even though Etsy does a more holistic look at everything. Keywords are still very important. You want to be very clear about what your item is, who is it for, but don't get too specific. Don't use words like beautiful or descriptive words like that. Save those for your description. And then again, we're going to go into pricing. That does help sell, because if you price too cheap, people are going to think, what is wrong with it? Some people will buy it. That's how Temu is in business, let's be honest. But you don't want to compete with the cheap factory made items. You are handmade. You're going to be priced this way for a reason. I do not have to sell a ton of, I mean, I do, but not, it's less than you would think to make a full-time income, because the profit margins are so good for the time. So don't sell yourself short, but don't go too crazy on the pricing either, especially in the beginning. You want to see how they sell first. And I also like to recommend having a variation of price ranges. So smaller, medium, large wreaths in your shop, and maybe some accessories like bows, something that can give your shop some momentum, especially when you're starting out. So anyway, that is why wreaths are so great to sell. That's kind of a overall look. And I know I kind of just spewed a lot of information at you, but I want you to know that, so there's the photography, there's the pricing, there's the Etsy listing photo, there's your designs. How do you know what's in style? How do you know if it's going to sell or not? It's a lot. I totally get that. Just take one step at a time, focus on one thing at a time. And I'm going to segue. I have to do it, okay? My group is open right now, my wreath making VIP group. So if you are one of the ones who wants to sell your wreaths as well, you're welcome if you don't sell them either. But I want you to know that I will be here to help you. There's a private community that when you're doing this, if you second guess yourself, if something comes up you're not sure about, you can ask me and I will tell you. I've been doing this for almost 10 years and I've come across pretty much everything I can think of. I've come across crazy customers and all these kinds of different situations, and I will share with you exactly how I dealt with it, how it went, what I suggest for you. Shipping, I know a lot of people get held up on shipping, but it's not as scary as you think. I was terrified when I finally got an order, and then I was like, "Oh shoot, I need to figure out how to ship this thing." So I share all of that in the group. I do have, if you don't want to join the group, I do have a separate training. It's like a small mini course on shipping. I have that course in the VIP group as well, but if you just want the course, you can get that too. But yes, that is one thing. I've got a huge library of tutorials for seasonal, year-round wreaths, all the things. You can just see what you're in the mood to make. Every tutorial has a supply list with all the SKU numbers, exactly where I got it, all the things. So you don't have to guess. But I also teach you why I chose something, so you can learn to make them without using the exact items I have. Well, you're welcome to use the exact items I have, but if you maybe say live in the UK or somewhere where it doesn't have all the same suppliers that I do, you can use that information to figure out what you want to buy when you're shopping for your florals. So, and then there's ongoing, not only do I teach the wreath making side, I do teach the business side as well, because so many of you have asked. And then also a lot of the members, I just love this. They start not knowing anything, and they'll go in, they'll start making wreaths, they'll love it. Their friends will want some, their family will want some, and then they start selling, and then they have a business before they know it. So I love it. That makes me so happy. There's a private community. It's very supportive. Everything is hosted on my website, by the way. So you don't have to have social media or anything to be a part of the group and to interact and everything. So there's that. You don't have to be there for the lives. Everything's recorded and saved into the group. So no big deal there. I do go live every Monday, unless it's a featured wreath. And then that's a pre-recorded wreath I'll post. But every Monday there is new content in the group, but also all the content from the previous months. So it's all there for you. And then this is the only place where I do wreath and Etsy shop critiques and give feedback on wreaths and stuff. So I'm at your service in the group all the time. Anyway, so let me see here. Let me look at some questions. Oh, Samantha, you're so sweet. Samantha says, if anyone is on the fence about joining the group, you should definitely do it. Jenny is the best. Samantha is the best. Let's be honest. It's the best place to learn how to make wreaths, and even if you want to sell on Etsy. Oh, thank you, Samantha. Jill says, I always have a wreath on my door. Do you use your iPhone for photos? Yes, I use my phone because it's easy and accessible. I keep things very simple. I am a simple girl. If it's complicated, I know I'm not going to be good about doing it consistently. So I try. I try. Sydney or Samantha, I know it's hard to keep the cost down. There are wreaths you can do for $30 in materials. I know my tulip wreaths sold really well, and I kept that pretty close to that, maybe less, but I hated making them. So I actually charged 4 times my materials cost for those so that it would be worth it for me. But yeah, are there any questions you guys have before I end this? I've got a little bit of time to answer questions. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the breakdown. Absolutely. Samantha says, I think my pricing is more on the high end, which could be why I'm not selling, but I would love to make a wreath with $50 of materials or less, but it's just so hard when I want to keep adding to them. Yes. But Samantha, you'll probably notice a lot of my wreaths, I'll be like, you can stop here. And a lot of times the you can stop here portion can be that lower cost one, and then you can keep adding to have a higher cost option. So there's a little tip for you. But Samantha, you're a good wreath maker. You probably already know that. Oh, Sydney says you're so right, Samantha. Go ahead and join if you're wondering. It's so uplifting, lovely, supportive people. Thank you, Sydney. Hey, Chris, welcome. Sydney, yes, I did announce this live. I posted it on my Instagram. People who were on my wait list got the email, but since I did mention the VIP community, I didn't send it out to VIP members. I mean, this is all in the group in much more detail because you guys are already in it. I didn't want to hound you with another email, but maybe I should have. Chris says, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not part of this group and Jenny's expertise, you're missing out. Oh, thanks, Chris. That's so sweet. Let me scroll up in the comments and see if there's any other things. Donna says, Etsy also does a lot of advertising to their site, which you don't have to do, like TV commercials. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jackie says, how do you keep track of money spent and money earned? I keep track of money spent by my QuickBooks, and I, save all my receipts. I keep mental track. I have a separate account only for business, which I highly recommend. And for Etsy, it's nice because they keep track of all what you earn, all the fees, shipping. Anyway, I don't use Etsy for shipping, although I highly recommend it. I use another platform, but it's the same cost as Etsy. And that keeps track of all my shipping costs, which is great. But yeah. You're distracting me. My husband's out there doing a weird dance in front of my office. Oh my goodness. Okay. Simply Blessed Designs says, do you make a wreath that is the only one for sale, or do you do made to order? If I was only doing this and not teaching, I would not do one of a kind wreaths unless it's using leftover materials, which I love to do. I make a design and I make the first one, and then I sell the rest. I sell that one, and then I don't make it again until I've sold another one. So they're all made to order. People a lot of times will assume that I have just a ton of wreaths made, and I hardly have any wreaths made because I sell the first one and then I make the rest to order and I ship them out. That saves so much space because I don't have a lot of space. I have this little office with my florals behind me and then a computer up there in front of me. It's not a lot of space, but then I have all of my materials stacked floor to ceiling on shelves in my third bay of my garage. So no, not very many wreaths made though. No worries, Sydney. Sorry about that. Let's see. Anything else? Any other questions? Let me scroll up a little bit. Samantha says, Jenny, when a wreath costs about $75 to make, what would you price it at? It kind of depends on the wreath. If it costs $75, but it's not a really huge one, let's see, 75, I would probably do 177 and then see how that does. You could do 147 if it doesn't take too long to make and it's just expensive because the supplies you got. I would also look at the supplies you're using, see if you can get them cheaper somewhere. Are you buying wholesale yet, Samantha? I can't remember. And that can be scary too if you're not making a lot of sales because, it's a big upfront cost with wholesale. So that can be scary. There are minimums you have to get. So maybe it's not such a bad thing that I waited until I was doing pretty well before I started. But if you're using one item over and over, which I highly recommend doing, for example, my magnolia leaves, I can make so many different wreaths from magnolias. I can make the plain magnolia. I could make the ones with the leaves turned around and back, and one with flowers, and then I can add seasonal elements, so many different things. So I need to use a lot of magnolia leaves. So I buy those wholesale now. It's better quality than the ones I get at Hobby Lobby, although I still use those. I made just using magnolia leaves from Hobby Lobby has made me so much. It's amazing. But since I already knew that I was using a ton of magnolia leaves and that they would sell and it was better quality, I could buy a lot so I would get a good price. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. Samantha says, I don't have wreaths made because I don't glue them in. And then I make different designs with the same stuff. Then I glue in when I get an order. Yes, that's exactly how I started. I don't do that anymore. I'll make the first one because I'll teach it here on YouTube or I'll teach it in the group. But yeah. Jackie, it depends. Some wholesalers, you have to buy, your first order needs to be $1,000. And then the next orders need to be $500. Some have a $500 minimum and your next ones have to be $250. So that would be about right. If you're ordering internationally from the wholesalers that I get, the order minimums are a lot higher. I believe like $2,500 maybe for some if they're going to be shipping internationally. And so that can be a big hindrance to some. But I mean, it doesn't take much, to be honest. I mean, I don't even want to say how much I spend on florals. That's how I can afford trips. Those credit card rewards points are great when you spend so much on florals. Anyway, let's see. Yeah. Anyway, well, I just want to recap really quick. Wreaths sell because they are beautiful and they're in demand all year. So many people have wreaths and they can sell at great profit margins. They do really, really well. And you actually, when you look back at it, you don't have to make that many to make a full-time income. I don't know how many like, I don't know, blankets I'd have to crochet and how long that would take to be able to make a full-time income. Oh, it makes my fingers hurt just thinking about it. Wreaths are great to sell. And when you combine creativity with a strategy, it's absolutely possible to have a highly profitable business selling wreaths. So anyway, if you are not in my VIP group and you want to be, the doors are open from now through September 4th. This is 2025. It's next Thursday. So that's when the doors will be closing. I hope you join me if you're not already a member. I think you will love it. So anyway, thanks for being here. And I appreciate you guys. All right. Thank you. Bye. Oh, like this video if you haven't done that yet and share with a friend. And if you are like, Jenny, I never get notified of your videos, make sure you have that notification bell turned on and you will get a notification, hopefully, when I go live next or when I post a new video. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, how do I end this? Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go.